train struck the trailer of the semi primarily, and it wrapped the trailer completely around the front end of the locomotive as it dragged it down, or drug it down the tracks.
And he had a full load when he was trying to get it?
He was carrying a full load of pop-a-locks, yes.
Who's this gentleman? I guess he sits out here and greets children once in a while, so we're kind of waiting around to see if Santa shows up.
Santa, what you want?
A trash dummy and a bunch of stuffed animals.
Oh, this sure is Christmassy. Boy, it's beautiful with all the snow on everything and the lights.
Mrs. Claus and I want to wish everyone that stopped here and everyone that didn't have the chance to a very Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year.
With cold temperatures come cold weather headaches, cars not starting, frostbite, colds and flu, and the sometimes forgotten and potentially costly problem of frozen pipes. According to experts in the industry, there are some preventative measures that can help and others that may not necessarily work.
But as you can see, all these lines are all plastic lines. They're not near as susceptible to freeze up as a metal line is. They will expand and contract, and very, very rarely do they ever split, unless the house is without heat or something of that nature.
The majority of mobile housing units are created using plastic piping instead of metal for plumbing. But this isn't always the case for on-site housing, where metal piping is much more frequent. Experts warn every homeowner to be cautious.
Well, leaving the frosted drip will keep your water lines open, but it will have a tendency to freeze your sewer lines. If you're not getting that gush of water through there to clear the thing out, it's like an icicle on a roof. It'll gradually build up as it drips, and it'll cause that pipe to freeze completely.
Whether you live in a mobile home or reside in a standard home, there are a few things to remember if your pipes have frozen.
You should probably contact your dealer that you purchased it from, or from a local service company. A lot of people have a tendency to get under there with salamanders or torches and things of that nature, and that can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Many fires during cold snaps are caused by portable heaters or someone attempting to thaw frozen pipes. The best advice is to call a professional and let them take care of the problem for you. It may cost you some money, but chances are it won't cost nearly as much as pipes bursting or your home burning to the ground. In Duluth, John Jetta, News 6.
We're actually seeing how the game should be played. We're going to try, we're picking up our level of play, so when we get back home, we're going to do a lot better against the other teams.
The game here is a lot faster, it's a lot quicker. It's great.
This is terrible. Absolutely terrible. So, he's going to be missed.
What happened here on this windy, icy, rainy, early December night here when Flight 5179 from Minneapolis to Hibbing went down.
There's been plenty of rain all day long, and there's more in the forecast. This is definitely not what flood-weary Iowans want right now. The good news is the water's back on and life is beginning to get back to normal, but it's going to take some time before you can really use the word normal here.
It's my hope that the first thing that they do before they consider those two courses of action, they go back and consider the fact that all along they've said this is a very close case, and that they themselves take a much closer look.
We are here to report for work, and we are being unlawfully denied the opportunity to go to work after having accepted National Steel Pellet Company's final offer. And we will pursue that in a court of law.
It's so brutal. It's like, you know, you don't even expect anything like this in a big city. It's just knowing that this happened, it's scary.
I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, it's just, in the last 2 years, we've seen more deaths than we've seen years and years and years here.
The senseless murders of 7 women this year have shattered our sense of security and left many searching for answers.
To the taxpayers. If a recently announced petition drive succeeds in killing the new park, though, the privately funded shopping area will still be built, except it will be close to the water's edge where our free expanded park would have been.
In the middle of the mayor's State of the City address, an old political thorn resurfaced, the Bayfront Mall. The council recently passed steps necessary to develop the area, much to the chagrin of an activist group called the Friends of Bayfront Park. Newly elected Councilor David Wheeler told News 6 he has changed his mind on the issue. He is now for the development. This comes after Wheeler used Bayfront as a part of his campaign to get elected.
And I think that constant backbiting is not productive, and I don't understand at this point why they're trying to throw a wrench into it.
We will bring a petition to the council for reconsideration. I think it'll be interesting to see then if he is going to really want to bring both sides together and say, let's kill this project and move on and work on something else, or if he is going to indeed vote in favor of it and force a referendum on it.
The Friends say they'll have no problem getting the 2,000 required signatures on their petition, which will do one of two things: force the council to repeal the ordinance or create a special election to let the voters decide. If that happens, city officials say Sam Brown, the developer, could go ahead and build his mall. Plans to build a park he would finance would be killed. Mall opponents say that's fine. The city can develop Bayfront Park without a developer. In Duluth, Chip Wallace, News 6.
Several years, and also that it's been 13 years since you've
that are involved.
The indefinite closure of National Steel is certainly a factor in this filing. It's not the only factor. There would be a filing had National Steel remained open. Other costs across the board have risen in the 13 years it's been since we last had a significant increase in our price, and it's just a foregone conclusion that we now must go forward with this proposed increase. We're about half right now. I'm on a co-op myself, so I can tell you what the difference is in the cost. I have co-op service in 2 locations.
It would be the hope of every employee that's working someplace that they are fairly paid and have a benefit package that's worthy of their of their trade. And
Basically, trees take up space in the landfill, and landfill space is quite expensive right now. And this way, recycling them, they'll be used for fuel at the ML Hibbard station.
areas in the country, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and will not just take the tough steps needed to cut a government bureaucracy, let go, and those on the outside looking in. I think obviously I'm going to be stronger in some aspects than in others. I think fundamentally I'm an administrator, a manager, an executive. I think I know how to make things work.
Dealt with foreign policy. What actions might a president take that would help establish foreign policy? Citizen and what? What do you have to be for 14 years? You credit, again, this is interesting. You get just figures here because I give them to you. So if you took them down and notes, this was. I'll make it up to you Friday. Stop.
Stress means different things to different people. For some, waiting for a light to change can be stressful. For others, it's the office, the daily deadlines, or home life.
Do you often have trouble sleeping or falling asleep?
Generally, yes.
Why are you having trouble sleeping?
Most of it is family related.
Sleepless nights are just one of several symptoms of stress. A study published in the Journal of American Medical Association says middle-aged men with very high levels of anxiety or tension have twice the incidence of high blood pressure.
I think we're learning more and more how the mind-body connection works. It's almost not worth it to separate them anymore. It's really one entity.
But Dr. Gail Kearns, a cardiologist at the Duluth Clinic, says we shouldn't put too much emphasis on the stress-hypertension connection. He points out the study did not prove stress caused high blood pressure in women, blacks, or anyone other than middle-aged white men.
There may be a role for stress in aggravating a tendency towards hypertension, but it doesn't seem to be certainly the only factor.
Dr. Kearns suggests that perhaps the leading factor in hypertension is family history. He says if several family members have high blood pressure, you should watch your levels as you age. He also recommends controlling factors that you can, such as smoking and fat and salt intake.
Whether stress is a significant contributor to high blood pressure or not, most would agree that reducing stress levels makes life more pleasant.
The experts recommend biofeedback and relaxation techniques or psychological therapy for those who have trouble controlling their stress. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
Mr. Warner's attitude and contempt for local taxpayers is unacceptable and must not and will not go unchallenged. We do not believe that the rank and file teachers of the Duluth school system share Mr. Warner's viewpoints.
As one of the economic advisors to President Clinton, Dr. Sun Wan-son was among the first to predict strong growth in 1993. But today in Duluth, he said conditions need to slow down. Growth, he says, has brought on too much demand for credit, which will lead to higher inflation and interest rates. Much of Dr. Son's comments today centered on health care reform, which he calls the greatest risk to the American economy.
Right now, health care accounts for 1/7 of the gross national product. By year 2030, it could be 30, 40, 50%. That must not happen, should not happen. That would be an economic catastrophe.
It's health care reform, said Dr. Son, that could lead to fewer jobs in the Northland as medical centers tighten their belts. As for other sectors of our economy, he predicts continued growth in retail sales as Duluth strengthens its position as the region's trade and service center. But continued problems in the steel and mining industry could adversely affect our economy. The construction trades might also see a decline as earlier booms in anticipation of the Northwest Airlines Airbus facility begin to recede. On the education front, a positive note.
The University of Minnesota Duluth may be able to take more students. Right now there are 7,500 students, and it is quite possible that in the next 4 to 5 years, by year 2000, we could add as many as 2,500 students, and we are talking about 30% increase in enrollment in the Duluth campus, and that will be obviously a very big positive and a plus.
As for the overall job market, Dr. Son sees continued growth in the service sector and use of temporary employees, who made up 75% of all new jobs created in 1993. In Duluth, Dave Jench, News 6.
Holding the line on spending. That was very, very important to hold the line on spending.
Items of accomplishment last year, and then also focus on our legislative agenda for the coming year. Our emphasis on trying to improve the business climate in Minnesota. Workers' compensation reform, again, will be a major force, along with removing the sales tax on replacement equipment so we can encourage our businesses to upgrade their equipment and be competitive with the states that surround us.
How's the fishing today? Not too good. Oh, we've been here about 4 hours and only got one little one that we tossed back.
Slow. It's slow here. Having no bites, nothing today.
Did you come out here at all on that cold snap we just had?
No, I didn't even try. I stayed in the house. So I think everybody's getting a little cabin fever and they want to get out now and enjoy the weather.
Are you one of the people that are out here kind of early in the spring when the ice is breaking up?
I'm a little more leery of the ice. I like to make sure there's a good 8 inches below me before I start coming out.
Does it worry you at all that you might end up on an island someplace?
No, just stay close to shore.
And so,
You mentioned privatizing social programs.
next generation under the weight of our debt. These are core value issues, issues which are the soul of society, issues which will determine whether this nation will remain great or will decay from within. They will determine the tide of history. They will determine whether this nation has the moral authority as well as the military power to lead the rest of the world. And, sadly, with the exception of the deficit, the other candidates for the Senate are not talking about these basic issues.
The Itasca Medical Center is owned by and run by the county. Proponents of a governance change feel that because not only the hospital board, but the county board is involved in running the medical center, there's too much red tape, and the system is too cumbersome for the changing field of health care.
Change is necessary just to expedite some of the decision-making processes.
A special task force voted 8-4 in favor of change, recommending the county lease the medical center to a nonprofit private company. Today, a petition of support for that change was submitted to the hospital board by registered nurses and other employees at the medical center. But not everyone is in favor of change. Some employees are hesitant, feeling that a change in governance may eventually lead to a change in their job security.
I voted against it.
Dave Zafke served on the task force. He's a medical center employee and a member of the AFSCME Local 455. The union is against the proposed change.
Well, we want to make sure that we stay intact as a union and that they don't mess with our wages and our benefits.
The center receives financial support from the county tax base, and that, say some commissioners, is reason enough for the county to stay directly involved in the facility's operations.
If there's going to be tax money spent in the hospital, they want the county board on the hospital board.
Whatever's decided, it won't be for a while. Today, the hospital board appointed a new committee to develop a possible lease agreement. The earliest the county board would vote on the issue, sometime in April. In Grand Rapids, Ted Rollins, News 6.
He's of course been here and works very hard up here. Money in school aids, but not enough to even come near what he's spending. $100 million. The property taxes went up $280 million. He's spending $25 million. He stole $20 million, and that continues to go on. So he's using money to appear to be doing something about these issues, and I suggest that it has a lot more to do with the timing and the election year politics than anything.
The wiring is explosion-proof in the bulking and the storage rooms. There are spill containment systems in those rooms so that if we did have an accident and the sprinkler system came on, the sprinkler water would all be retained in that system and wouldn't enter the sewer system.
There's something funny going on in the Northland tonight. You can just feel it in the air. So we decided to find out just what's going on. An epidemic is among us, I believe. We're consulted with a panel of experts and the conclusion is in. That epidemic is called Super Bowl fever. The only cure for that fever is to get together with a couple of buddies and enjoy a friendly game of football.
We caught up with a group of fans that traveled all the way from Canada just to catch Super Bowl action in the Northland.
And I will walk 500 just to see the Bills hammer the Cowboys.
This Buffalo native makes no secret of what team he stands by.
They're my team. Seen them through thick and thin. Met a lot of the players out in the town when I used to go out a lot in Buffalo and stuff. So my heart is with them always.
Well, for a Superior couple, their hearts were with each other and the Super Bowl. Danny Sutherland and Kimberly Hink took time out of their annual Super Bowl party to get married at halftime.
In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and now pronounce you man and wife.
Like the odds makers, the newlyweds were predicting Dallas to win. Super Bowl 28 is going down in the record books as a repeat of last year. But for most Northlanders, this evening was far from uneventful. From Super Bowl fever headquarters, Gina Katzmark, News 6.
Personality was obvious. The council
think if I were to get on TV and say that this was not a problem or not part of the reason for us wanting to leave, I'd be considered as a liar. It's part of the problem.
Chuck Claw is going to be over at the library shortly. Kind of screwed around a little bit just to...
Tim Nelson, back in the year 1994. I don't want any part of it. It's bad policy. It has to be judged on just these 5 individuals, and it can't be looked.
477 to 477, 866 David Boyd John.
The regular retirement age for police personnel, as outlined by Wisconsin Retirement Fund language, is 53 after 25 years of service. 4 of the officers are 52 and the other is 51. If the city approves the early retirement for the 5 officers, the payoff cost is $82,000. The savings to the city in overtime and vacation pay is $42,000. The city would lose $40,000. Finance Director Tim Nelson says the money is one issue, but the precedents early retirement may create is another.
You can't say that a police officer is better than the secretary out here. Why shouldn't the secretary get $20,000 to retire?
Nelson says he's going to recommend to the City Council not to approve the early retirement. He hopes the issue is tabled to give the city time to set policy, criteria, and financial limits, as he's sure other city employees might seek early retirement payoffs as well.
The precedence, I think, was one of the main reasons, and along with the outpouring from the public of not just buying off people.
Can't leave right now. And I'll stay around. I don't know that anybody around here has any problem with the way I'm doing my duty now, and I'll continue to do my duty as expected of me. So I don't see any problem.
Downplay the risks of that versus once an exposure is taking place, we can't do anything to extract the exposure from the person, and we can't change a lot of what's going to happen to them.
The symptoms of Superior Memorial's problems are being explained at sessions like this one last night. Each year, Superior residents spend $30 million on health care in Duluth. That transfusion of money across the bay has all but crippled the hospital's balance sheet.
You know, financially, hospitals need to run like a business, and the bottom line has to at least be even for hospitals to keep operating.
4 more patients a day could spell the difference for Superior Memorial. Last night, city officials admitted they don't expect everyone will stay in Superior for their health care.
We are encouraging Superior Douglas County residents to have their doctor consider putting them in Memorial for the general services that are available, and when special medical services become a necessity, then seek them in the Duluth hospitals that offer them.
These residents last night were asked to financially contribute to a promotion campaign to save their hospital and to review their insurance policies to make certain they can be treated at Memorial. If not, they were asked to select a new carrier. The hospital board continues to review all available options, including affiliation with St. Mary's Hospital in Duluth. But the time for solutions is short, as Superior tries to avoid what many consider a true community health crisis. In Superior, Duke Skorich, News 6.
years ago, somebody said that it was impossible for any money. We were having $5 spaghetti. Didn't think I was the strongest lieutenant governor candidate either. I guess I didn't face it until. The decision is painful to make, but when I look at all I have to be home for, it really is clear to me that it's the right choice. Right, Spud? Money. It's meeting the people. It means going to every little town. Chuck didn't think I was the strongest. The difference between a statewide and local election is when it's a statewide race and I say I'm going to talk with the AFSCME group, I say, wife and kids, I'll see you Sunday. And when it's a local election, I say, I'll see you for lunch. There's a big difference there.
Work readiness. Remember, we tried to reform that program in 1991. You might remember the...
Now, you have to be on welfare for 3 years before...
When you come to Minnesota, you can come to work. But if you're coming here with the expectation that you're going to sit on our welfare rolls forever, forget it. It's not going to work.
For most people, winter in the Northland sounds something like this. But in International Falls, the tune is more along these lines. You see, winter's becoming big business in our area. Each year, visitors pour millions of dollars into the local economy, taking advantage of our snowmobiling, skiing, and snowshoeing. In some fashion, that money makes its way into almost everyone's pocket.
And in most ways, it is a trickle-down effect and touches each and every one of us. Some do not see those dollars directly, but indirectly we are benefiting.
In most towns, the Chamber of Commerce would cringe if the temperature hit -20. But in the Falls, they're all smiles. The fact is, they took Fraser, Colorado to court for the honor of being called the icebox of the nation. They won, and it's already paying off.
February in International Falls, Minnesota. Average low temperature 10 below zero.
The commercial has been shown nationwide, and while some people may think it's making fun, local merchants are laughing all the way to the bank. All right, you might be able to find one or two people who say the winter weather in International Falls is no picnic, but for Tom West in the Cold Weather Resource Center, it means cold, hard cash.
Last year we estimated it was about $6 million in direct economic benefit to the northern Minnesota communities. Here in International Falls, we're probably talking about $2 million.
The Cold Weather Resource Center is a nonprofit organization that uses our frosty temperatures to attract companies looking to test their products against winter weather at its most extreme, a business that is booming. George Kessler, News 6. The seemingly endless miles of the frozen Minnesota countryside make it possible to test new products far away from the prying eyes of the competition. Minnesota's 10,000-plus lakes are another big selling point. Starting in early December, roads are plowed onto the bays, and the ice is used to test winter driving products. This van is testing new anti-lock brake technology. We think. They wouldn't let us get very close with the cameras. All of this testing means that large groups of engineers and technicians rotate through International Falls during the winter months, and that translates into money and jobs.
It's able to employ probably another 20% of our staff that would have normally been cut back in hours that are now able to get full. So we can possibly imagine expanding someday if the cold weather testing keeps expanding.
Most of the corporations hire their test drivers and ice maintenance workers locally. Many of these individuals work for the tourist-related businesses during the warmer months, so cold testing provides a steady source of income for families that used to see lean winters. The primary competition in the cold market is from Canada and Michigan, but those in the know think the future looks bright.
There's a lot of room for growth here. The people we talk to, the technology on board and the developments that are coming, there's a lot of need yet for further development and testing, and it's amazing. It just keeps growing and growing.
They've certainly been getting Mother Nature's cooperation. After this winter, the Icebox title is definitely secure. In International Falls, George Kessler, News 6.
It's very delicate, and I support the President's initiatives in working with NATO and the UN to try to, first of all, have peace over there, but the ultimate solution is going to have to be the individuals themselves, the Serbs, the Bosnians, and the Croatians. But if force is necessary, I would support the President using airstrikes.
Why come back here? They're out west looking around.
And the remarks we keep hearing, everyone interprets Lake Superior a little bit differently, and they love it.
And in this area?
Yeah. I've traveled all over the country.
You almost ran out.
We had no idea it would be this successful. There are just so many people that have such a deep love of the lake that somehow found the book speaking to them in a personal way. We wanted to bring the diversity of the lake, the feeling of Lake Superior community out, and as I've been going around doing signing parties and things, there are just a lot of people that feel this lake belongs to them, and it's far gone way beyond what we anticipated.
How did you get started taking pictures like this? Where did you first? It's hard to decide what it should be.
Okay.
In most households, and probably one of the most destructive. The destructive power of it is tremendous. And what had happened was they brought it into the house, and in the heat, it releases explosive fumes. And the fumes apparently found an ignition source, and you had an explosion.
Bear to witness, we had 3 men drowned in 5 years out here that were snowmobiling, so this isn't just a warning to keep people off. It's a very serious business. All the pressure ridges are loosening up. All of the areas around docks and river mouths are loosening up, and this is a classic case right here. You got 2 rivers.
Rob Schlapfer made it clear to friends and in his will that he wanted his motherless daughters, Felicia and Natasha, to live the rest of their lives with close family friends. Candy Geary and Lance Ricard of Duluth agreed, and together they prepared the children to live with them when their father died.
They were really proud to call our son Aaron their brother, and they would tell their friends at school and their teachers that they had 2 homes now, and that they had their dad, Rob Daddy, and then they had me as Lance Daddy, and then Candy was their mom.
But on the day Rob died, the twins' grandmother, Phyllis Duracek of Houston, took the girls to live with her. As the girls' closest living relative, she was quickly awarded custody by a Texas court.
It's my understanding she said that they were abandoned children at the time, didn't indicate to the Texas court that a proceedings was going on here in Minnesota, and obtained an order in Texas then giving her the guardianship conservatorship of the children.
Based on the will and Rob's dying wish, Lance and Candy were also awarded custody by a Duluth judge. Since then, there have been several court appearances, but neither judge has changed his opinion. The next battle in the ongoing war will be waged in a Houston courtroom, where the grandmother's right to custody will be contested.
Everyone that we've talked to, legal consultants across the country, have said Texas does not have jurisdiction here, and that they can't be doing this.
But the bottom line is the girls are living in Houston, and despite conflicting court rulings, possession seems to be 9/10 of the law. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
I think they got a lot of respect, how different cultures believe different things and what kind of time they go into it and what it takes. And I think they have a lot of respect for that after working hard doing it themselves.
Duluth has had these senseless vandalisms in the past, and somebody derives some sort of pleasure out of doing it. If we knew the answer to that, Chip, we could solve an awful lot of crime, but some things are just done for foolishness, and that's what we suspect this was.
Yes, we just announced.
2 years ago, Arnie Carlson owned the lowest approval rating of any sitting Minnesota governor since polling began. Today, those polls show him handily winning re-election. And today, announcing who'd run with him, the governor may have won something else, the allegiance of his party.
And so what I have told Joanne is that her success will depend on her capacity to perform and to persuade.
Joanne is State Senator Joanne Benson, the governor's new running mate and a plum for the conservative wing of the party that never truly trusted the man carrying their flag. A lifelong teacher, Benson calls education her pet issue, but her position on abortion's been getting the attention. She opposes it. The governor is pro-choice. And she concedes the people closest to her ideologically have reservations about him.
I think some of them have some difficulties because of a few of those issues that you are aware of. But I think what we have to look at is if we want to be successful as a party, down the road, we have to do all that we can to bring as many people together.
We welcome challenges to prevailing thought. We welcome diversity of opinion.
The prevailing opinion after Jonelle Deerstead resigned to run for Senate was that a conservative replacement would appease the party. Carlson won without the endorsement last time, but to do so again would be politically messy.
And so the worst fears on the part of the governor and his administration are that Republicans wouldn't endorse their sitting governor, who is a Republican, and the media would cry bloodbath at the IR convention. So that's what we're trying to prevent here.
Hi, Chip Wallace of Channel 6 News. Hi, Chip. Hi there. Doing a little survey. Just curious as to why is your Christmas wreath still up?
Because I haven't taken it down yet.
That's the only reason?
Well, I kind of like it.
The month of February is almost over. March is one day away, and yet many Northlanders are still displaying Christmas decorations. Ever wonder why?
Keeps the memory of Christmas going until snow is gone.
Because we're too lazy to take it down.
You're too lazy to take it down?
I have one in my garage, too.
Do you really? Can we go take a look at it?
Sure. A slow news day, right?
As you can tell, it's a slow news day. Well, that's a pretty one. Look at that. While driving around the neighborhood surrounding UMD, we noticed Christmas wreaths are still in vogue. In fact, we found 5 in one block. Just out of curiosity, just doing a little survey. I guess some people are embarrassed that their wreaths are still up.
I had set to have it down by Valentine's Day, but I've missed it, so.
Hi, real quick question for you. Curious as to why your Christmas wreath is still up.
I think my wife just forgot to take it down. I think it'll come down the first hot day.
Many residents say they'll eventually take down the wreaths, but the lights, they may stay up, unplugged. They say it's not a matter of being lazy, just practical. In Duluth, Chip Wallace, News 6.
For the first time since production started 6 years ago, Lake Superior Paper Industries suffered a net loss in 1993. The company blames foreign competition for their troubles, specifically competition from Finland.
They were able to bring paper into the United States and sell it for less than we could produce ours for. So understandably what this did is force us to react price-wise, and our pricing began to deteriorate during the first half of 1993, and that of course had an effect on earnings.
LSPI has been working with the American Forest Paper Association in conjunction with the GATT talks to level the playing field between Finland and the United States. In the short term, Lake Superior Paper says it has stepped up production and used a slight price increase to get back on track for 1994. LSPI is a non-union company. It operates under a team-based labor system, a system that came under fire in a recent business publication which quoted current employees who were trying to bring a union into the plant. The company discounted the article and the idea that their system wasn't working.
This workforce, like any workforce in the United States of America, has the right to choose to join a union or the right to choose not to. And so far, and we've been in operation 6.5 years, we've been a company for over 8. The workforce here has chosen not to join the union.
In Duluth, Ted Rollins, News 6.
That's a good question.
Yes. The clouds above their heads, pardon me, were not made of fried eggs. Well, that'd be a big disappointment to me. I kind of like PB&J, so they'll be all right. Did you have a question? All right. A mess. There were seeds and pulp everywhere. What a nightmare. Look, this person was just sitting there reading a book. And I'll give them credit. They did not look nice and even for them. To help out, the people piled up as much bread as they could in their backyards. The birds picked at it a bit, but it just stayed there. Next Thursday? Oh, I couldn't tell you. Next Thursday's just too far ahead. Well, there's a lot of good stuff up here. You have dew and lightning and thunder and thunderstorms and snowstorms. We probably have 1 or 2 of those left before the year ends, but then after that we get into nice fun thunderstorms and sun. The list of, as you said, there was 300.
Right. Nobody else knows what we think, and nobody else cares what we think.
We would like to see it remain a school. It's been a school for 100 years, and we'd like to see it stay a school.
Thing that they say. Basically.
And they all seem to qualify, or would have qualified for people.
The fact that we're here discussing against putting in a low to moderate income housing facility in here.
If the rate of logging that we expect by the mid-1990s continues for the next 50 years using current practices, 69 of 138 forest-dependent birds would have significant impacts on their population.
Meaning there would be less of them?
Yes.
You wouldn't have babies, which means you wouldn't have people. If you didn't have men, who'd drive the lady to the hospital?
Like Dennis the Menace and his friends, most children talk to each other about where babies come from.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees.
But the information children get from their friends is a very strange blend of fact and fiction.
One of my friends said that a stork brings the babies. I used to think that fathers had babies instead of mothers. My friend said, like, the baby just crawls into a mommy's stomach and then it just comes out.
So children need direct and honest answers from someone in their family. I want to know who you speak to in your family about things like this.
Mother. 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 Father.
She was 3 years old, and she was running around in the bedroom, and all of a sudden she stopped and she said, "Mommy, where do babies come from?" And so I got this terrifying fear in my stomach, like, oh my God, I have to tell her everything right now.
So how much do they need to know, or can they understand?
I would certainly start with just the children understand that they have sexual organs and what they're called. And they should understand that these are private, and they don't have to let anybody touch them or see them.
By 4 or 5, most children are curious about anatomical differences, and they play doctor to learn more.
When the parents come in the room, without getting hysterical, they could say, "Why don't you get dressed? Let's talk about this. And let me explain to you what you were looking at, and perhaps show them a picture."
By 8, they want all the basics, although they really won't understand them yet.
Children are very interested in exploring at that stage and mentioning the penis, mentioning the vagina. Insertion could be mentioned. AIDS could be brought up. Certainly the girls by about somewhere between 8 and 10 should be told about menstruation. Boys shortly after that, erections and masturbation, and certainly intercourse could be brought up.
And if your child doesn't ask questions, you may want to ask a casual, open-ended question of your own. Ask, where do you think babies come from the next time you see a pregnant woman together? And then listen carefully to their answers. You may learn a lot.
She looked at my stomach and she said that it grows in your stomach, and I said, yes. And she said, that's wonderful.
I'm Dr. Georgia Witkin for NBC News.
It appears that they died quickly after they had eaten something or whatever. It doesn't appear that they were shot. We don't know for sure what caused their death, but we're suspecting that it's a poisoning.
So 14 found by the DNR in the same general area.
It was all risky, but my only other choice was surgery with
It would be nice if all of your doctor's visits were pleasant and easy. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way. And if you're feeling stressed or rushed, it's easy to forget to ask important questions. So today, some tips on getting the most from your doctor's visit. Number 1, make a list. How many times have you left the office when you suddenly remember, oh, I forgot to ask this? Write your questions down and don't leave until they're answered. Next, be sure to mention the most important problem first. You know, the problem or symptom you talk about first is the one we assume is the most important. Get to the point right off the bat. Here's another. Be honest. You know, sometimes medical problems are embarrassing, but those embarrassing ones can also be very serious, and we can't help unless you tell us. You also don't want to be shy about letting us know you're seeing another doctor, or if you haven't, say, quit smoking like we asked you to. Next, tell your doctor about all the medicines you're taking, and that means prescriptions from other doctors and any over-the-counter medicines you might be using. And finally, don't be afraid to ask questions and get answers that you understand. Remember, the doctor works for you, not the other way around. When you leave, be sure you understand the plan of action, what you need to be doing, and why.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
I'm Dr. Dave Nida for NBC News.
So,
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see you later.
Our students, District 318, Big Fork, Grand Rapids students, are competing with these students for places in college, also for the job market. And that's what's frustrating. They wind up being the ultimate losers.
And to develop very strict water quality standards. And
we're real proud of you.
Thank you.
Good. Look into it.